Hey, really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain while I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best till into the next well. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best rest till into the next well. Guess I got next still.
And welcome to the BestBell Fantasy Football podcast and live stream. I'm Bradley Stalder here tonight. I'm going to be answering your Week 8 start-sit questions. It was quite a game last night, seeing Dalton Kincaid get his first career touchdown. Gabe Davis went absolutely berserk. Stephon Diggs chipped his way to a usable fantasy week, and Mike Evans delivered on a late touchdown to salvage his game. How about that? So I'm here to jump in and discuss not only who I think you should start sit, but also some of my rankings. And if you want to find out all my rankings, you can sort by standard league, PPR, half point on bestbellfantasy.com/weekly-rankings, or you can just go to bestbellfantasy.com and you go to rankings and you can see the weekly rankings drop down right there. You just click it, boom, and you'll see my rankings, and they update in real time. Every time that I make edits, you will see when that changes, and it'll compare to what the expert consensus is. And you're thinking, Bradley, how accurate are you? What kind of accuracy are we dealing with here? And well, let me tell you, I mean, last couple weeks been pretty good. I finished 15th 2 weeks ago. Finished, I think it was 25th, whatever. It was top 30 2 weeks ago. 41st last week. This is out of over 200 rankers here on the Fantasy Pros Accuracy Rankings Contest, and I've been crushing the rankings. So make sure you guys are checking out bestbellfantasy.com. I have my rankings there posted so you can make your start sit decisions, and these are some of the better ones in the industry, right? A week to week, consistently really good, and they're not hidden behind a paywall. They're not hidden and shifted to the last minute. Surprise, oh wait, Bradley did this at the last minute. No, like these rankings are available to you, and they're periodically updated. So definitely check out those rankings. You can bookmark the page. I update it a few times throughout the weekend. So make sure you guys are checking out bestbellfantasy.com and the rankings that I have posted there. I don't have a lot of other things filled out in the website yet. I've got some plans for the website to continue to grow and continue to improve. So make sure you guys are checking that out. I'm really excited about the website and where we're going to go with it here, not just during the season, but also in the off season, what kind of offerings I'm going to have for y'all, because the team of editors and myself are just looking to continue to grow and improve, and y'all have shown that here on this channel. This channel at this time last year was about 500 subs. Now we're over 1,700, and I'm really excited to continue to grow with y'all over the time that we're together. So let's get into it. But before we do, I've got a quick word from our people at Did It. That's right, y'all. Check me out on Did It. You can find the link in the YouTube description, and it's one-to-one chat. So if you guys have questions or want to give me a call throughout the weekend, you need one-on-one advice, you can do that. And I know lots of you like to type in the comments and everything like that, which is fine. It's just I won't be able to get to every single one, right? So if you want to make sure you are getting that, make sure you guys use the Did It app. You can video chat me. You can share your screens. One of my favorite things to do on the Did It app, because it's a game changer. I can see what your roster looks like, your settings, the whole bit, and I can give you the best advice that's possible. Additionally, the first call on Did It with me is for free. So guys, make that call. Check me out. Appreciate y'all. The link is in the description. Let's get into some of the questions that we have here, because this is what the show is all about. If you've been with me for any amount of time, you know I love answering your questions, jumping into the user questions. So here we go. Andy the Fork, one of my favorites. It's the man. That's right. Shout out to you, Andy the Fork. In 10-team half PPR, are we trading Achane, Rice for Puka and Ford? I've seen Bijan and Diggs. Ooh, yeah, we want that upgrade at wide receiver to get that wide receiver 2. I have confidence that CMC is going to continue being a running back 1, and Bijan Robinson will be a high-end running back 2. I'm not worried about what happened last week, and we all know what Arthur Smith is, and if you haven't checked out my Twitter account, you'll see the tweet that has over 232,000 views in the last 24 hours or so, and it's that if Arthur Smith had Babe Ruth, he would bat him 8th. I don't think there's any untruth to that statement, because Arthur Smith doesn't know how to use his superstars. That's the fact. He cares about winning. The fact is, he's a 500 coach. He's Jeff Fisher, right? Jeff Fisher goes 8-9, you know. But that's how I would play this, is still believing in the talent of Bijan Robinson, understanding though that he is limited by what his circumstances and team scheme is in Atlanta, that Arthur Smith is going to cap him. Tyler Algier will get more goal line work. And I mean, this is just the reality we need to face until Arthur Smith is no longer the coach. So Puka Nacua, give me that side. I understand the appeal for Achane, but he still has time on the IR, and we still have the bye week to go. You cannot afford to be losing at that point. Wes Fox jumps in as well. Question for the remainder of the season. Should we roster Tank Dell or Gabe Davis? And the answer is very clearly Gabe Davis. We want the better offense. We want the higher average depth of target. We want the player who has been crushing more consistently. And yes, Davis has had his bust games this year, but they were pretty predictable. When he had tough secondary matchups, he wasn't going to produce. But when he had medium to easy, he crushes. Because, look, Stephon Diggs deserves the attention that he's getting. Dalton Kincaid is now a usable piece. And so now that leaves Gabe Davis down the field. And Davis has the deep threat ability. And we want those types of games. And especially because he will draw the targets. Josh Allen is willing to sling it, especially because Josh Allen is not running as much in a designed way. So the designed runs for Josh Allen are down significantly compared to previous years, which allows Allen to stay in the pocket and then allow plays to develop downfield. That helps Gabe Davis. So we do want Gabe Davis rest of the season. I understand the appeal and the love for Tank Dell, but there's also Nico Collins, who is more or less an equal-ish or at least similar tier-ish type of wide receiver as Tank Dell. We've seen spike weeks from both. They've been of similar heights and depths, but the reality is CJ Stroud is just a very good passer. However, overall, like, this offense is not super talented. Dameon Pierce is not getting it done on the ground. Dalton Schultz is extremely inefficient. And Schultz has also been a red zone, end zone target as of late, especially with Tank Dell having dealt with some issues. But I do expect this week, week 8, Tank Dell is a startable flex option for you, not only for the reasons of his talent and previous production, but also because Robert Woods is out for this game dealing with a foot injury. So we should be considering starting Tank Dell in our flex rosters, but rest of season, still give me Gabe Davis. Serendipity Trick Shots says, sup. Okay, Randy Schmidt. Here is a question from Randy Schmidt, and he asks, is Jordan Love any good? And I don't know if y'all can tell in the background with all of the Green Bay paraphernalia that might be, visible. I got the Tunyon, I got the Lazard jersey, I got the Bakhtiari jersey, the 69. number for Bakhtiari. As you can tell, maybe the silver signature right there. Just, as the resident Packers person, I can, without a shadow of a doubt, tell you that Jordan Love is terrible. He's bad. He's just bad at football. And it is okay. Like, it's okay for us to come to that reality, because at the beginning of the year, we were tantalized. We were tantalized with Jordan Love and his spike week potential. Oh, Romeo Doubs is getting touchdowns. Oh, Jordan Love is playing so well. Jordan Love has the lowest completion percentage among all qualified quarterbacks with at least 160 dropbacks. Jordan Love has 7 interceptions and 10 touchdowns. Not a great ratio. And then it's also a 6.5 yards per attempt. Yikes. So the yards per attempt, the bad completion percentage, and then even the adjusted completion percentage, like adjusted for drops, it's still the worst. Jordan Love is bad at football. Now, he doesn't have the worst passer grade that goes to Gardner Minshew on the season, but Jordan Love has been bad this year. He's just been bailed out by a couple big plays and a couple touchdowns that have swung his way. Thank goodness for some of these receivers. I mean, his stats would have even looked even better had Christian Watson housed that one against the Raiders, remember, just a couple weeks ago. So Jordan Love is not good. He is a sell in Dynasty. He is a sell in any other format. Get rid of him. Get him off your team. He is not good. And you don't want to, here's the reason. You don't want to be stuck with this type of player. A player who has showed out some fantasy spike weeks, but doesn't have the efficiency. He doesn't have the metrics. He doesn't have the completion percentage. And he didn't have the profile in previous years to say, hey, is a player that can bounce back. He was a late first round pick. He didn't do anything his rookie year at all. And then he continued to sit for years and years. And he only started to look kind of good in a couple spot plays just last year. And then this year, another reason why he started out looking good is because no one really had tape on Jordan Love. Now that they've started to figure him out, this has been very difficult. So, no, Jordan Love is not good. The Green Bay Packers had indicated that this offseason anyways. I've been speaking about this for months, when we got new data, whenever we get new data. And one of the pieces of data is that the Green Bay coaches were saying that they need to lean on the defense. They need to give Jordan Love some time. Well, the defense is going to get exhausted, and Jordan Love's time has run out. We are now into week 8, and Jordan Love has thrown 7 interceptions. Now, what's wild is that Jordan Love, 3 of his interceptions were attempted throws toward Christian Watson just in the first 2 games of Watson being back on the field. So Jordan Love's not able to connect with his best player. He's not able to connect very well with other players. And the running game has struggled too to move the ball. So, like, there have been parts of this offense that have just struggled and haven't put Jordan Love in positions to make up for his inefficiencies. So, no, he's not good. You should be getting rid of him. He shouldn't be on your team. Someone has to land with the hot potato, right? But if you can get a second-round pick in Superflex for Jordan Love, yeah, please. Like, that's the move. All right, serendipity trick shots. Lamb, Higgins, Nakua, or Pittman. Let's pull up the weekly ranking serendipity trick shots. If you have other questions, check out my website, bestbellfantasy.com. You can go to rankings, and then you can scroll down to weekly rankings. I have those updated. You can also filter by PPR, half PPR, standard, based on your league settings. And I have the rankings right there. So let me rank these players for you. For CeeDee Lamb, I have at 9. Nakua, I have at 10. Higgins, I have at 30. Pittman, I have at 26. So if I'm ranking them, it's Lamb and Nakua neck and neck. That's a coin flip decision. And then Pittman over Higgins is more decisive. but it's a clear difference of tiers between Nakua and Lamb, and then Pittman and Higgins in my rankings for week number 8. Serendipity Trick Shots also says I can start 2, Myers, Hollywood, or Downs. I mean, how can we move away from Hollywood Brown? Hollywood Brown, I have. Ooh, where did he end up going here? Hollywood. Okay, I did move him down a little bit to 31, but that's with the news that Josh Dobbs is still going to be the quarterback. Kyler Murray is doubtful this week, but he did get full practices in. You have to wonder, is Kyler Murray on the trade block, or is Kyler Murray going to play just later on in the season? So we will have to see what happens with that situation. Jacoby Myers, I have at 21, and Josh Downs, I have all the way at 39. So if I'm ranking them, it's Myers and then Hollywood and then Josh Downs. As Josh Downs is a wide receiver 3-4 this week. Kaiser Soze. What's up, brother? I need 2. PPR. London Mostert, D-Hop, Miles Sanders, Lockett, or Pierce. Well, let's cross off a few of these. Why don't we? We're benching DeAndre Hopkins for the risk that Will Levis is not any good. Will Levis is expected to get the start this week. Malik Willis expected to also sprinkle in. I mean, even if Malik Willis gets 15% of the quarterback snaps, that's too many. We just want to see what Will Levis has. Because we know what Malik Willis is. Malik Willis isn't good. Malik Willis holds onto the ball too long. Malik Willis cannot make decisions. He gets sacked a ton. Like, it rivals Sam Howell, the rate at which Malik Willis gets sacked. He cannot make decisions. He's not good in the pocket. He doesn't have the awareness. He can't get rid of the ball. So we know that Malik Willis isn't good. We wonder if Will Levis is good. Maybe this is Will Levis's coming out game, but I'm not willing. I want to see it before I play Hopkins. Hopkins has struggled this year to hit those spike weeks consistently. I'm also not using Dameon Pierce. So Dameon Pierce has been extremely inefficient. As I mentioned earlier, like, you lean on the Nico Collins and the Tank Dells as like flex plays / low end wide receiver 2s, possibly. Nico Collins. Yeah, I have at 25 this week. So that is a player that I think is going to be leaned upon heavily in this Texans offense. Raheem Mostert's good to go. I don't know how we move away from Raheem Mostert as start 2, even in full PPR. You're starting Raheem Mostert. You're also not starting Miles Sanders. You're not doing that for because of Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's just simply outplayed Miles Sanders this year. Sanders has been dealing with injuries, a shoulder injury and a groin injury, and you name it. He's been injured by his play, So that's just the reality, is we're not looking to be starting Sanders or Pierce or DeAndre Hopkins. We are looking to start Mostert. And then it's a question of Lockett or London at wide receiver. Let me pull up the rankings. Let's talk about it. If it decides to load, there we go. So Lockett, I have down at 38 this week. He is dealing with an injury. He's questionable. Only 5 targets, 4 receptions, 38 yards against Arizona. Last week, he was the wide receiver 50 in half PPR. Whereas Drake London, I have at 34, so slightly ahead. But another reason why we're a little concerned about Lockett is the Cleveland Browns defense. I know they got torched by Indy last week. I think that's a fluke. Cleveland is going to make some adjustments with DK Metcalf, with Lockett, with JSN, with Bobo. Kenneth Walker also dealing with an injury. So we'll see if Walker is good to go, as well as Lockett. But for right now, Drake London over Tyler Lockett. So we're going to go with Mostert and Drake London here. Serendipity Trick Shots says, also, should I drop Fields for Kyler Murray? It depends. Yeah, all these things are, it depends, right? For uh, Fields is not put on the IR. He's just out for this week. He made it at least till Friday for this week to be ruled out. Whereas Kyler Murray got in full practices. But even when they're back, Fields makes his living running the ball. That's where he can get you into that quarterback 10, quarterback 5 pretty easily. And his injury was not a hamstring. It was not a groin. It was not a calf. It was none of those soft tissue issues that would impede his running. So even if he throws for 150 yards, but he rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown, that's still going to be pretty fantasy viable, and you'll be just fine. Whereas Kyler Murray, he's coming off of the ACL injury, and he's still working on the rehab. And while Kyler Murray does have a history of not gaining the rushing yards and getting the passing yards to be a top quarterback weekly, the issue is that Kyler Murray was scoring rushing touchdowns during that time. So if you look at the game logs for Kyler Murray, in the games where he performed very well and didn't have a lot of rushing yards, it was because he had a lot of rushing touchdowns and was used around the goal line. So the question is, are the Cardinals going to trust Kyler Murray around the goal line again, given his injury clause that guarantees him a certain amount of money if he gets hurt playing this year? So that's a major question. Like the Cardinals are risking guaranteed money by putting Kyler Murray back on the field. It just doesn't make sense for them to be putting Kyler Murray in a position where he's going to take a lot of hits, number one. And number two is with the ACL rehab. So I don't think that Kyler Murray is going to be that elite fantasy asset for you. Could he be a high-end quarterback 2, low-end quarterback 1 pretty easily? Sure. Like that is within the comparable range of outcomes. He's still an athletic player. He still can make some throws. That's he's got Hollywood Brown. This is a team that he can work with. But there is a capped ceiling for him if he's not being used around the goal line and he's not getting rushing yards. So how we're handling this short term, I would not be looking to add Kyler Murray over Justin Fields. Like we saw Fields throw for 3 touchdowns to DJ Moore against bad defenses. So all Fields needs is a little bit of exploitation and boom, we're in good shape. So I would not be dropping Fields. If you can afford to add both of them and see what happens, great. But I would not be banking on Kyler Murray being better than Justin Fields the rest of season, if that is what you mean by this question, Serendipity Trick Shots. Okay. Who should I start at quarterback this week? Are we starting CJ Stroud, Dak Prescott, or are we starting Jordan Love? Well, I can tell you we are definitely not starting Jordan Love after the rant I just went on. I have Dak at 11. I have Jordan Love at 14. CJ Stroud, I have 8, though. CJ Stroud is a start for us against Carolina. Carolina's secondary is decimated. Brian Burns, their star defensive lineman, is also expected to miss. I think he has an elbow injury. So obviously we're monitoring that. I don't think he's officially ruled out, but we're not expecting him to play. And that would be a massive hit for the Carolina Panthers, who are already really hurting on defense. Jeremy Chin is on IR. There are a few other pieces of the Carolina Panthers defense that will be missing for this game. So no, we are not looking to be starting Jordan Love or Dak Prescott over CJ Stroud. This is a smash spot for Stroud. 3 touchdowns and 275 to 300 yards are within easy range of outcomes for CJ Stroud this week. He's a top 8 play for me over Lawrence, over Burrow, over Prescott is how I have Stroud for right now. T. Zinch, should I drop Henderson for Chuba? Full PPR. This is a question of what you need right now and what can you afford to hold on for later. I think Chuba Hubbard is the long-term answer. I think Darrell Henderson is the short-term fill-in. Miles Sanders has not been playing well, and I don't anticipate that he'll be playing well. Chuba Hubbard has played very well. His PFF rush grade is great. His yards after contact per attempt is great. His missed tackles force is great. Like, these are the pieces. And in previous years, Chuba Hubbard had good PFF receiving grades, yards per route run. Like, this is a this is a player who's played well in small stints before. Darrell Henderson, on the other hand, I expect when Kyren Williams returns from IR, Henderson goes back to maybe not practice squad, but like second or third on the depth chart, especially with Rivers also on the IR. There were players that the Rams chose ahead of Darrell Henderson. So short term, if you need a spot start for the next couple weeks, like Henderson's probably, a top 30-ish type of running back. I mean, I have him at 29 right now against a tough Dallas defense. But that's kind of how you're valuing him, is outside the top 24 of running backs. But if you need a pulse at running back, Darrell Henderson's probably going to get the volume. And as we saw last week, he got the touchdown. So that's very interesting. But long-term, I think Chuba Hubbard has a legitimate chance to take over this backfield, even with a healthy Miles Sanders. Because the reason why we saw Chuba Hubbard perform well with the volume is because Sanders was out. Now there's an opportunity with Sanders being back in the fold and relatively healthy that Chuba Hubbard can just straight up play better than Sanders, earn more touches, earn a bigger role. And maybe that happens in a couple weeks. Maybe that happens part of the way through the game here in week 8. Who knows? But if you just need someone with a pulse, I think Henderson is the player right now. But long-term, Chuba Hubbard is the player that I would rather have. Okay, we've got another one. Trade White. I assume Rashad White and Jackson Smith-Njigba for Murray. I'm not sure if it's Kyler or Latavius, and Hollywood Brown. Yeah, we're definitely getting a massive upgrade from JSN to Hollywood Brown, but the question is, what Murray is it? If it's the quarterback, a lot depends on who you have at running back and your other quarterback. But if it is Latavius Murray, I mean, you're probably still going with the Hollywood Brown side, even though Rashad White is on pace for over 70 receptions. Rashad White, 7 for 70 through the air is going to get it done every week. Like last week, he was 6 for 60 receiving. He's terrible on the ground. He averages like 3.2 yards per carry. That's Rashad White, but he's used in the passing game. He's a PPR monster. And so how can the Bucs haven't moved away from him. And I don't think you should either. Even if he's going to produce for us top 20 weeks, we know that the ceiling is not there, but the floor is there, given if he's going to get 5 or more targets every single game and he's able to make people miss in space. Yeah, Rashad White is a player that, in PPR, we're excited about filling in as a flex / low end running back too. All right, guys, if you like the content and you find it helpful, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, especially if you're new. Ricky A.A., McLaurin, Hollywood, Lockett, Roshan, Jamal Williams. I need a wide receiver and I need a flex. We're definitely going with Hollywood here. And I think we're going to go with, should we go with, let me look at the rankings, because this is half PPR. So let's go with the flex rankings and just see where all these peeps lie. So the cool thing about the widget that I have on bestbellfantasy.com, you can go to bestbellfantasy.com. You can look at weekly rankings and you can see that I have the flex rankings there, and you can just find where each of these players are. So McLaurin is 48. Brown is 58. So McLaurin over Hollywood. Lockett is 68. So McLaurin, Hollywood, Lockett. Roshan, I think he should be higher than that. I don't know why that's not updated. Roshan, one of the things with Roshan, and I want to bring this to y'all's attention. Roshan Johnson, I have at running back 37. Donta Foreman, I have at running back 25. How can the Bears move away from what Donta Foreman did last week? He scored 3 touchdowns. And a lot of people in when I had Jake and Jacob on last week, a lot of people were asking, should I start Donta Foreman or these other players? And very oftentimes you can roll back the tape. You can roll it back. You can listen to what Jake and Jacob had to say with me last week. And we were saying most of the time you're starting Donta Foreman. He finished as the running back 1 overall in half PPR. He went 16 for 89. Yeah. I mean, 5 yards plus a carry, plus 5 targets, 3 receptions in this game. Now, Roschon's probably going to get the majority of those targets. Roschon Johnson profiles as that third down change of pace back. So I would not expect, 13 or 16 carries for Donta Foreman. Maybe it's down to 12, and we give Roschon, a sprinkling. Darrington, the game script was really in favor of the Bears for most of this game. So Darrington Evans had 15 touches. I would expect that it's Donta Foreman, then Roschon, and then a distant third, Darrington Evans, in how we're sorting out this depth chart. So yeah, Jamal Williams is not on that list. I think we are gonna go with McLaurin and Hollywood if I'm starting any of those. Cool. Ricky AA says the Vikings are gonna force Jordan Love to throw. Yeah, but here's the thing: is he doesn't complete his passes. Yikes. It's close game betting wise. Yeah, because the Vikings, they can give up some big plays. And that's why I really liked Christian Watson in best ball. You just didn't know when he was going to spike, and there was risk with Jordan Love. But if Christian Watson hits, he'll hit really big this year. So shout out to Christian Watson, and hopefully he can get some of my fantasy teams back on track here. All right, cool. So let's keep her rolling here with one more question. Should we go CJ Stroud or Dak? I got you here, Wes Fox. We're going with CJ Stroud this week. Stroud is going to absolutely crush coming out of the bye week. Oh, yes. And absolutely annihilate the Panthers secondary. Randy Schmidt, been enjoying the content. You do a great job. That's very kind of you, Randy. Appreciate you. Appreciate you jumping in the comments. Any chance Dalvin Cook gets moved? Even if he does, is he worth stashing? Is there a chance Dalvin Cook gets moved? Yes, absolutely. Dalvin Cook has asked the Jets to explore options at this point. So, it was actually kind of funny quote. If you read any of the tweets or anything of what was said, Dalvin Cook was like, I'm not playing my best because I'm not getting touches. And it's that old myth that a running back just quote unquote needs to get going to be good. And I don't think that's true. I mean, there are certainly talented running backs in the NFL, but at some point you're on, the downward trajectory and you still have some talent, but you don't have the talent at your peak. You've still got some talent. And so it's a matter of once in a while, you're still going to have like, boom, a burst, boom, a big play, boom. You're going to show why people still like, heck, Julio Jones in the playoffs last year, the last game before he signed with Philly, the last game we saw him in the playoffs against the Dallas Cowboys, he went 7 for 70 and had a touchdown, right? So this 33-year-old wide receiver still had something in the tank, right? And in a similar way, Dalvin Cook may have something left in the tank, but it's not going to be worth it for us to be stashing. Like Michael Carter at times had been playing ahead of Dalvin Cook this year. Dalvin Cook was one of my fades for this year. I had drafted him almost nowhere. Like it was a big time avoid for me. Yeah, I did not want any of Dalvin Cook, and I don't think you want any of Dalvin Cook, even if he moves to a different team. Like the tantalize. I mean, it should have been a telltale sign when the Miami Dolphins were like, yeah, we're not going to go after Dalvin Cook. And instead, they're like, we're okay with Jeff Wilson. We're okay with Raheem Mostert. We're okay with Devon Achane. Like, that should have been a sign to us fantasy managers that this is not going to work out. And so it's kind of funny that Dalvin Cook was like, yes, I need more touches to get going. Where, like, how are you going to take away touches from Breece Hall, who is one of the top yards per touch running backs in the NFL? You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. So there's no reason for us to move into a positive position for Dalvin Cook, even if he moves to a different team. Okay. Woo, there we go. Wow. Reynaldo Rincon, Palmer, Downs, Tank Dell, Rashee Rice, and Watson pick 2. Thanks. Here's the thing is I'm so biased toward the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be really hard for me to move away from Christian Watson. But let's look at the others because I love Christian Watson and I can't not talk about how good Christian Watson is. Like he was off the injury report despite supposedly having an MCL knee issue. Like, how is this guy even functioning? He is a monster. Let's look at Palmer. Let's talk about Palmer for a second. So I have him at wide receiver 32 in my rankings, but he is questionable for this week. A DNP, and then a limited practice. He was spotted with the sleeve on his knee. So if he's not going to go, you should be able to pivot. And you have to understand that Josh Palmer has been playing as the number 2 wide receiver behind Keenan Allen now that Mike Williams is there. And the last 4 games, Josh Palmer has been wide receiver 28, 35, 37, 11. So he's a back end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 with, I guess, a couple big play upside. Like we could see a top 12 week, but if he's dealing with an injury, I think this is a player that we need to be a little cautious about putting into our lineups. Now, maybe that's what we were worried about a couple of weeks ago when, he was questionable to play coming out of the bye week against Dallas. And then he puts up wide receiver 37. He's like, okay, he gets you 8 points, doesn't kill you. But Josh Downs is a player that's been consistently getting 5 or more targets in every single game except one. And over the last few games, over the last 3 games, Josh Downs is number 11 in receiving yards, only 1 receiving yard behind his teammate, Michael Pittman. So Downs is an interesting play. Tank Dell is an interesting play. Rashee Rice. So I think we're crossing off Josh Palmer here. And then I like Rashee Rice too. This is a very, very interesting. I have in my rankings. So this is the wild thing is that I have Downs at 39, Tank Dell at 40, Rice at 41, Watson at 44, and then Palmer at 32. So if I'm picking the 2 based on the rankings, it's Palmer and then Downs. But if Palmer is not ready to go, then we need to go with Downs and Dell as our 2 picks. That's how I would rank it for right now. There we go. Also, SF, crazy to consider starting Bagent over Mac Jones or Geno Smith. Bagent or Mac Jones over Geno. So I have Geno down a little bit this week. I have Geno at my quarterback 19 against Cleveland. It's not crazy to bench him. I know that Gardner Minshew somehow had a miraculous game against Cleveland, but it was a couple blown plays. Let's not lose our minds over it. Bagent, I have not as a top 24 play this week. Mac Jones, I also don't have his top 24. I would have Geno over them, but I understand the fear of Geno. I do have him down at 19 against the Cleveland Browns this week. So let's not get carried away, but I also see the fear. I understand it. Should I trade Laporta for Aaron Jones? I mean, it depends. It depends on what your running back situation is. My lean is to say no, unless your tight end is also really good and you need the running back help. But Laporte has played extremely well so far this year, number 1. Number 2 is Aaron Jones is not 100%. And we know this because LaFleur came out today and said that when will he be 100%, which is massively concerning. Like Aaron Jones can pay off. Certainly he can get 12, 15 fantasy points. That's fine. But we're seeing him split carries with A.J. Dillon. The offense is not in a lot of goal line situations for Aaron Jones to get into the end zone or even red zone touches. And while we like Aaron Jones' efficiency, like career-wise, we have to wonder, how is the offensive line affected? Aaron Jones, you have to wonder how his injuries have made him a little tentative, how AJ Dillon has kind of eaten into his work. There's a lot of reasons to be skeptical of rest of season Aaron Jones. Sam Laporta, on the other hand, I mean, give me the Lions. If you don't have another tight end who is in that top tier, like, I only have a couple tight ends ranked ahead of Laporta this week. Right now, I have Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, and then it's Laporta, and then Kittle. So I mean, it's a coin flip, between Laporta and Kittle. Maybe I'll change my mind here and there. Debo was just ruled out with an injury, so maybe we'll move Kittle ahead. But there's reason to be optimistic about Laporta. And Waller is questionable. We'll see if Waller is good to go. Waller's been playing very well as well. So I think you just hold on to Laporta is my take here. Okay. E from YouTube got offered this, my side I'd be giving up. CD, Saquon, Monty. For Kelsey, Mostert, and Tank Dell. I mean, it depends on who your tight end is, because that's a massive tight end upgrade if you don't have somebody. Mostert and Saquon this week are pretty close in my rankings. Let me pull up the running back rankings, because I have Barkley at 8 and Mostert at 11 this week against New England. Barkley at 8 against the Jets. CD Lamb clearly significantly ahead of Tank Dell. But I think that the positional advantage of Travis Kelce is just too much. It's just too much. Okay. Unless you have one of those other tight ends like Andrews, like a Hawkinson, like a Laporta, even Waller now has turned a corner, I think, especially with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. And that's another sneaky play. We need to be ranking Tyrod Taylor in our top 20 of quarterbacks. I'm going to make sure that he's there for me, because we need to be adding Tyrod Taylor, into our fantasy lineups, because if he's targeting Darren Waller a lot more, that's what we want. That's what we want to see for both Taylor and for Darren Waller. So if you are in Superflex leagues and you need a player to step in, Tyrod Taylor is, a mid-pack quarterback too, moving forward. And we've seen quarterback 12, quarterback 15, quarterback 17 finishes, and he's mobile enough and wily enough in the pocket where he's not going to take a ton of sacks. He's going to be able to move out of pressure, and he was able to make at least one fantasy relevant player, and that was Sammy Watkins. Remember, that was the Sammy Watkins year. I believe it was 2013, 2014, where Sammy Watkins had a big year. So Tyrod Taylor is a veteran. He's looking for his guy, Darren Waller. And this has also been some chatter. I don't know if y'all realize this, but I work for the news desk for Player Profiler. And one of the pieces of news is that Daniel Jones might not return this year. There's been some chatter. It's not official, of course, but Brian Dable was hesitant to give an affirmative answer that Daniel Jones would return this year. And we need to read between the lines here that Tyrod Taylor has played better than Daniel Jones this year. He has more attempts. He has a better PFF passer grade. He takes fewer sacks. He has a better big time throw rate. He has a higher yards per attempt. There are reasons to be optimistic about Tyrod Taylor getting the Giants at least to league average, or close to it, enough that the Giants are more competitive. Before, Daniel Jones was just simply not getting it done. So Tyrod Taylor, a very, very interesting quarterback streamer, not only for this week against the Jets, but moving forward. We're monitoring the Jets defensive backs. Remember, the previous weeks, the Jets defensive backs have been dealing with concussions, and it showed. So we'll see if those injuries are going to continue, or if Tyrod Taylor is going to be facing a tougher secondary. But even so, Tyrod Taylor, all he needs is a rushing score and a passing score. And then, we're in mid-pack quarterback 2 territory pretty easily. So that's sorry, I took an aside here, but yeah, there we go. E, I think I answered your question. All right, Randy Miller, shout out to you. Love your work. Can you pick 2? Zay versus Arizona, Waddle versus New England, or Devonta Smith versus Washington? Also, also Gibbs, or Aaron Jones rest of season. We're going with Gibbs pretty easily, even when Monty returns. I like Gibbs rest of season as a high floor PPR option. But then let's look at these wide receivers, because there are some very interesting ones, and these are good wide receivers, tough rankings to be dealing with, especially because we like that Zay Flowers versus Arizona matchup. I have Flowers at wide receiver 15 this week. Waddle, I have at 13. So Waddle slightly ahead of Zay Flowers, and then Devonta Smith down at 20. So I'm ranking them Waddle, Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith in that order. Max asking, am I a Packers fan? I don't know. Can you tell? Also, hello, I'm new here. Shout out to you, Mac. Appreciate you and all of the new viewers. If you're new, shout out to you. Appreciate you joining me for tonight. Throw in your comments, smash the subscribe button if you like the content. Appreciate y'all. We've still over 1,700 subs, and really proud of the community that we've continued to build. So shout out to y'all for continuing that. Gooner Boy. Also shout out to Gooner Boy for joining me on the Thursday night football tailgate yesterday with Johnny Tuma. Johnny works with me in the newsroom at Player Profiler. And Gooner Boy asks, half PPR pick 2, Warren Chuba, Zach Moss, Roshan Taze, Spears. I'm missing Monty, Achane, and Dobbins greatly. So am I. I have Dobbins and Achane in my FFPC Best Ball Pros versus Joes tournament. That I'm the number 1 team in the entire tournament, but I'm missing those 2 players pretty significantly. So hopefully Achane can get back very soon. I have to pick 2 of Warren Chuba, Moss, Roshan Tazi. How can we move away from Zach Moss? He's second in the NFL in rushing yards. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is playing ahead of him, but it's clear that there's enough touches to go around for Zach Moss to be efficient and useful on this team. So Zach Moss, and then we're going to go with Chuba Hubbard as well. That's how I'm going this way. Ooh. Okay. Very good. All right. Dummy Man Pluto, shout out to you. Should I trade CJ Stroud and Kittle for Lamar? I have Kincaid, and I have Fields, and I have Kyler. So you're just going to roll with Kincaid as your tight end. I think that's fine. Yep. We're okay with confirmation that Dalton Kincaid is going to be crushing the next 3 weeks. I mean, Quentin Morris was also out in addition to Dawson Knox, but we like what we saw from Dalton Kincaid. He can make the plays. He's a special talent. Our question was always, how long is it going to take? The time is now for Dalton Kincaid. It's going to be hard for the Buffalo Bills to move back to not using Dawson, or back to using Dalton Kincaid in addition to Dawson Knox. So that's how I'm handling it right now. That is totally on fine. Khalil Herbert is on waivers. Should I drop Roshan for him? Hard schedule seems either way. Yeah, so here's the deal. We believe that Khalil Herbert is the guy when he returns. And Roshan is probably change of pace and third down. We anticipate Donta Foreman's going to be first and second downs. So I would believe that you can drop Roshan for Khalil Herbert. Herbert is going to be returning from the IR very soon. So, yeah, give me some Khalil Herbert as the longer-term stash. unless you need starts you need a guy with a pulse. Rashawn Johnson is a guy with a pulse. That's how I believe it can go. Okay. My tight end is Mayer. That is from way back. Yeah, you definitely want to upgrade Kelsey from Mayer. I think that's the move. Shout out to you, Jose. Hey, Bradley, 1 point PPR. Pick one, Jaden Reed, Michael Wilson, Josh Palmer. Thank you, Jose. Shout out to you. Jose has been so supportive of this channel. Jose has been so supportive of my work here. I just want to take a moment and say thank you, Jose Pena, for supporting all the things that I've been touching and doing over the last couple years since you jumped in and said, hey, like your stuff. And so shout out to you, Jose. Let's take a look at my PPR rankings. So full disclosure, I do rankings in half PPR, and then Fancy Pros does like this weird syncing where they're like, oh, well, if it's in half PPR, it translates to full PPR this way. Yeah. And so they create the PPR rankings based on the half PPR. I don't know. But I'll give you what those rankings are right here for PPR. Jaden Reed is wide receiver 58. Michael Wilson is 62. So we have Reed over Wilson, and Palmer is ahead of both of them. However, as we mentioned, Palmer is dealing with the injury. If he is active, we play Palmer over the other two. But if he is inactive, then we go with Jaden Reed. Okay. Nezzy. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Should we trade Kenneth Walker for Bijan Robinson in full PPR? Oh, this is a tough one. I think it's tough because of all of the factors that play into this question. Because Kenneth Walker has been getting a lot of touches. He's been dealing with injuries. So we have to wonder, what is the capacity for Kenneth Walker rest of season? Also, Kenny McIntosh is coming back off of IR. And if you remember, McIntosh is the pass catching running back selected in the 6th or 7th round by the Seahawks this past year, which may eat into the couple receptions that Kenneth Walker had each week. Plus, Zach Charbonnet is good to go. And we've seen Charbonnet, have his ups and downs throughout the first couple. We've seen Charbonnet have his ups and downs over the last few weeks of the season, but we've seen Bijan have his low. And if you can go after a Bijan Robinson for Kenneth Walker, I think that's the move. Yeah, I think we are trying to acquire or buy low on Bijan Robinson, especially given what can happen with that Seattle backfield. Now, we could easily lose this deal. I'm just putting it out there. The reality is Kenneth Walker has played much better than Bijan Robinson so far this season, even aside from the Bijan headache game. Okay, Kenneth Walker has had elite ceiling games. Bijan Robinson has not. And that's what we want, for our fantasy leagues. That's why we're in the position we are. And why Bijan Robinson is now acquirable when he was being drafted as the running back 1 in some leagues overall. So Bijan Robinson, if you can acquire him for the cost of Kenneth Walker, I think that's the move. Even though, Kenneth Walker has outplayed him so far this season. Nezzy, it's so close. One of the reasons I'm hesitant is because my other league I'm playing against Bijan. I get it. War Eagle 20,178. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, so I have Stroud here at my quarterback number 8. I have Trevor Lawrence at 9. So I view it as a coin flip. I believe it's a coin flip. It's close, but I like the Carolina secondary as a target. We also like, the Pittsburgh secondary as a target. So Christian Kirk should be a big play for us. Zay Jones is out, which means Calvin Ridley is not a play for us. I don't know if y'all realize this, but Calvin Ridley averages fewer than 8 fantasy points per game when Zay Jones does not play. When Zay Jones plays, he averages over 20 fantasy points per game. So there's a stark difference because there's a scheme shift. And I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars have seen that be successful in how they work their offense. Because Zay Jones is a respectable outside wide receiver. And so the offense is, of course, going to try to use the leverages at hand. And if Zay Jones is drawing a respectable amount of defenders, I mean, look, the Jaguars are rolling out with like Tim Jones playing some outside wide receiver snaps. That's not going to get it done. And of course, teams are going to, lean to the Calvin Ridley side, when that happens. So Zay Jones being out yet again is bad for Calvin Ridley, as wild as that sounds. So yeah, give me some CJ Stroud this week. Target the Panthers defense as something that's exploitable. Jamal Williams on Yahoo has a 5-star prediction. Thoughts? Man, oh man. Let me pull up the Jamal Williams rankings. Kamara, for what it's worth, is my running back 4 this week. So Jamal Williams is down to running back 57. It seemed pretty even or pretty close to the start of the game, and then Kamara just pulled away from Williams at the end of the game. Williams last week was running back 51. He's been running back 37 and 52, but 37 and 52 were in games where Kamara did not play. Now, granted, Jamal Williams left that week 2 game early due to injury, but still, like Jamal Williams as his ceiling, best case scenario is mid-pack running back 2 if Kamara is injured. But with Kamara in, Jamal Williams falls outside my top 48 this week. Okay, y'all, I have rankings on bestbellfantasy.com. And then you see at the top, there's a banner. Click rankings and go down to weekly rankings, and you'll be able to see my weekly rankings that are updated periodically throughout the week. I post them before the Thursday night game, so y'all can see it there. And then I update it periodically throughout the weekend. So I did an update just before I hopped on the podcast today. And then I'll do a couple other updates throughout the weekend. And then we're looking at the tight ends right now for Wizzy Jefferson, Jake Ferguson, or Logan Thomas. I have Jake Ferguson at 12 this week. I have Logan Thomas at 14. So Jake Ferguson slightly ahead of Logan Thomas this week. Y'all, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate all of you jumping on in. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Smash the red subscribe button if you like the content and found this helpful. For all of you watching on YouTube, shout out to the Twitch viewers as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed there as well. It really helps the channels continue to grow and improve and get better. Of course, you'll be put your questions in the comments section of the videos. That's what's able to get you some responses. But also, I want y'all to take a look at the description of the YouTube video, because there I have my Did It link. And if you're not familiar with Did It, I'm able to connect with you one-on-one via video conferencing, and you're able to ask your questions. You can even send me some chats and ask, hey, when can we set it up so that it works for your schedule, works for my schedule, so you can carve out some time and ask me some questions. I've got expert fantasy advice. Right now, let me pull up the accuracy rankings, but I'm doing pretty well this year. I finished top 50 last year out of over 200 fantasy rankers in the Fantasy Pros Accuracy Rankings contest. And then this year, I just finished 41st last week. I was 36th in running back, 30th in tight ends. So that was pretty good. And then I'm trying to get the leaderboard up here. Season to date, Bradley is 46. So I'm 46th right now. I'm 34th in running back, 32nd in tight end rankings on the season. So make sure you guys are checking out my rankings, which you can find on bestbellfantasy.com. Join me on Did It. Connect with me there. Y'all have been so gracious, so kind. And until next time, y'all, good luck in week number 8. Good luck with your fantasy football. Starts at decisions.
I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best till into the next well. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best till into the next well. Guess I got next still.